the Director of Undergraduate Research. Welcome to this information session for the URCA Awards. And it's informal. I would like to just open up the floor to anybody having any type of question that I'm capable of answering. I normally have with me our budget assistant who transfers the funds. But today, that person's not here. We're getting a replacement for that person, and we'll have that person hired soon enough. Rest assured, we do have the funding already in place. We just need to have the person that assists me with administering the funds. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and open the floor. Any initial questions? So while you may be thinking of a question, maybe I can just start and break the ice a little bit. With the fall semester cycle, the use of the funds is not limited to the use during fall. I just want to clarify that. In the application, you'll pick either the fall cycle or spending through the spring cycle. You are eligible to use the funds from fall to spring, even if you pick the fall cycle and ask for an extension. If you pick the spring cycle for using the funds, then automatically you can use those funds into the spring semester. And the reason why we set it up that way is because some students are graduating this fall, and we just want to make sure that they will spend the funds in time, should they be funded, prior to December 31st. Okay, so I thought I'd just go ahead and start with that little tidbit. But yes, feel free to ask any questions if things come to mind. And if you want to enter something in the chat box, feel free to do that as well. I'll go ahead and monitor that chat box. Yes, Maxim.
Hey, Dr. Trent. I had a quick question for you. So, from my understanding from reading online, sorry, it's a little loud, from reading online, it sounds like there's this one caveat of no paper products. Now, if the paper products are required for I'm trying to do the arts and humanitarian
Okay.
URCA, if it's part of the project, does that still mean that it doesn't count?
Okay, so let's see if we can navigate through that. I mean, some of this is historical and in terms of policy, and it just carries over from year to year to year. And what I'll say is this, that if your department allows for the purchase, of that material and using state funds, then go ahead and do it.
Okay.
And I would appreciate any feedback if you're able to do that, then that way I can change and revise the policy.
Sure.
But I think you can inquire directly with your department administrator. Do you know who that is right now?
As of right now, I'm still being figured out.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I'm still figuring that one out. So
feel free to just go ahead and contact them right now ahead of time and list those items that you intend to purchase and see whether or not they are prohibited from being charged on state funds.
Okay. Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
And the second part of that question is, if the project or whatever it can be is with another organization, kind of jointly set up with another organization, is that permitted with the funds?
Is it internal or external?
You mean with NECU?
Yeah, the other organization.
It's external.
Okay.
So it would be, I don't think it's state run. but it would be the Brain Injury Association of North Carolina.
Okay.
And so I was, wondering if that would possibly kind of a joint project would be allowed under the URCA scholarship.
Yeah, absolutely. We have collaborations happening at
Okay,
different levels. So, in your case, you're doing a creative project. It's collaborative, out with that someone outside or unit outside the university. That's fine. And basically, you being the PI, the principal investigator of this, are the steward of those funds, and you're going to apply that accordingly within the parameters of the project, and that's absolutely
okay,
okay.
perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Very good questions, though. Those are the first times I'm hearing those type of questions, though I've only been in this position for 3 years.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Um, Now I'll go ahead and try to fill the gaps here while anybody's thinking of questions. Um, with the review, who's the reviewers? What do they look for? The reviewers are comprised of faculty within the themes of those categories that you're submitting to, and each team of faculty, we have a minimum of 3 faculty, at most 4 on each team to review those applications. So they'll do their best in scoring the applications. They are competitive. What are they looking for? They're looking for, one, good writing. If it's clearly explained to them what the objectives are, whether it be a traditional research project or a creative project. Uh, does that creative project, for example, draw in the community experience? Is there engagement? Um, for research projects, then it would be how novel is the project? Is it going to contribute to any further scientific understanding? So I'm just drawing things off the top of my head here just to get things started about what what reviewers look for. So do write, go through review with your mentor. Make sure there's a good back and forth to revise and refine the application, the body of your application. Yes, Jesper.
All right. Good afternoon, Dr. Tran. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good afternoon.
All right. So I was just wondering when we're submitting our application during the application cycle, our project, do we have to select which of these areas our project falls under? Or will it be predetermined?
You select so that way I can direct your application accordingly to which team to review it.
Okay. So let's
Yeah.
say if my project, for an example, is under the microbiology department, that would go under biomedical science.
Yes, that should fall underneath biomedical science. And it's a good question raised because I've had faculty review teams send back the application to me to redirect it to a different team. And a lot of times the confusion comes between the STEM and the biomedical, by the way, which is easy to understand. There is some overlap between the two. If you think though the preponderance of content better falls underneath one category, then choose that category.
All right, thank you.
Certainly, thank you. Yeah, very good questions, and they are driving good conversation here.
Dr. Tuan, got another question for you.
Yes.
As far as mentors who sign off on the on your application, does it have to be a PhD faculty member, or can it be somebody like an advisor, for example?
It can be an advisor. So
Okay.
that's just to help clarify this. Does not have to be a PhD level faculty mentor. Anyone who oversees your project with any amount of mentorship that is applied.
Okay. And then, so one sec, sorry. Off of that, So if they don't belong to a college, like, do you list it as other, or kind of choose the one that would be most applicable?
Yeah, that's a good question. If they really don't have any relatability to any particular, then just choose other.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, that really doesn't have an impact at all.
Okay. I
We
didn't know
we
if
just
it did or not.
Yeah, we just simply like to know that the mentor, whoever that may be, whatever degree title they have or title they have, is an ECU person.
Sure. And they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so another thing in terms of just keeping things in mind, often, and this happens more so than not, is that if you get funded, try to spend it. These are state funds. They go away and the state pulls it back. We'd like for you to really make sure that that gets spent accordingly to your project. And, the May 16th, May 17th, I forget what exact date, but it's mid-May date for spending. That's a hard deadline now. In the past, it was a little looser, but as we found out that oftentimes I have to have my administrative associate pull through all of the spending lines and see whether or not students have spent yet. And we have a large amount of, uh, uh, we have a large frequency, I would say, of cases where monies either were not tapped yet or barely tapped for spending ahead of that mid-May deadline or whichever deadline applies to you in your case. So get with your mentor. Make sure they help you and get the administrative assistant to help you spend that money. And you can do that ahead of time. If you foresee needing those materials ahead of time, go ahead and just uh, make the charge, carry out the expense. And I understand that's kind of hard to do sometimes when you have a mentor and you have to move up the chain to ask them. But I think given the importance have these spending dates, it's crucial that they understand too that it's important for you to complete your project and of course spend the money. So you can emphasize that to them. So I'm just trying to think of things on top of my head here in terms of FAQs, issues we normally encounter. Hopefully you have taken a chance to look at the application and also some of the examples of students who have been funded previously or the projects themselves that were funded previously to get you an idea about exemplary models. You don't have to really stick exactly to those templates, but certainly those are guidelines. I had a few questions via email. For example, if you received a prior URCA, are you eligible? Yes, you are. But do submit the final report that's needed for your prior URCA by the September 30th deadline. So that way we have at least some type of measure of project progress or completion. It doesn't necessarily have to be completed, but certainly what kind of progress did you make with the project? And that's all we're looking for. Did you present it? Were you able to present a paper on it or write something about it? Even if you didn't present, how about some initial results? So those are just initial reports that you can provide. The other question I had before this meeting today was whether you can double up. That is, you're trying to apply to two URCA applications and applying to more than one URCA application, even though you may be co-PI on the second one, it is discouraged. We have many applications. It's going to be prioritized really for single applicants, you and another person if you're on the same project, but single applications, but not more than one. If there is funding available left over, then we'll come back to seeing the score for the second application. So it's pending funding availability. I will say that in this funding environment, it's very competitive now with so many applications being put forth, which is great to see. We're getting more URCA applications more than ever. So that does put out an air of competition, much more so than ever as well.
Hey there. I hope y'all are
Yes.
doing well. I apologize. I was a little late to this meeting. I had just gone out of another one, and I wanted to say thank you so much for your time for putting this on for us. And I wanted
Yeah.
to ask you, I was interested in applying for the spring URCA undergraduate research applications,
Hmm.
just because for my fall semester, I'm a little bit have my kind of tasks delegated, but I know I have some time for the spring. Do you know for the application for that, if I should go ahead and submit that now, or if that's something that will open up later on in the semester?
It will open up later on the semester. It'll open up later in early January. So
Perfect.
yeah, it's a ways, while away, but certainly feel free to do that, and hopefully
Absolutely.
we can meet that to happen for you. No
Awesome.
guarantees,
Thank
but
you.
hopefully that's the case.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Sure thing.
Hi, Dr. Tran. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Sophia.
So my question is that on the PDF instruction sheet, it says that if you're applying for an ongoing research project, that you need to show results from a previous study. Do those results have to come from within an ECU study, or if we're working with like a partner university who's doing similar research, can we cite their research as our previous results?
Yeah, if you happen to be collaborating with another university, yes, you can report the results that you collaboratively have together.
Okay, thank you so
Okay,
much.
certainly. And those are always desired. Any type of results connected in any manner to show the committee that you are doing what you said you're doing, which is an ongoing project. This is great. This having a lot of questions here put forth today. So the two emails that I got, hopefully we address those kind of sort of questions and along with the ones that we're having today. And if you did join a little late, I kind of mentioned previously that it's important to interact with the coordinator, the administrative person who's going to handle the funds for you. It's also important to have their name correctly entered along with their email. We do get invariably mistakes entered. The wrong person gets notified, and they don't. They're going, "Oh, who am I? Who is this person? Why am I getting money for such and such a student?" So just make sure you coordinate with your faculty member and say, well, who should be the person administering the funds in the department, and that should help take care of streamline the process. When I do send out award letters, and they'll come out through email, I'll CC everybody on board, your mentor, you, and the budget person, the administrative assistant, and to make sure that we're all on the same page and how the money's going to be transferred and what amounts. And thereafter, as a student, you can feel free as being the awardee of the project to take over some ownership by connecting with them directly, the administrator. So that way, purchases can be made in a timely manner for you.
Dr. Tran, another question.
Yes.
How many awards go out per semester?
Yeah.
Because I was looking at the previous kind of amounts of awardees, and it looks like in fall 2022, spring 2023, that number is higher than historic. So
Yes, it is.
basically, how much How much goes out in terms of awards?
So what has happened lately is, uh, from our standpoint as a URCA committee, we'd like to see as many projects funded as possible within the parameters of our budget. So you're seeing there, Maxim, the historically compared, it's higher than usual. I don't have the 23, 24 numbers updated yet, but they should have been there. Uh, they're about the same level. We're talking about 50% of the applications being funded every semester, and that's our goal for to. I think that's a good goal to try to maintain at minimum. And so, in terms of total number in 2023, we had somewhere around, on average, 105 applications per cycle over the 2 semesters. So that's about 105 average. And we try to fund 50% of those applications each
Okay, thank
cycle.
you. That's
You're
very useful.
welcome.
I appreciate it.
It's good to know the numbers.
Yeah, and they're pretty good
Yeah.
numbers. So
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. So I'd like to hopefully see it someday keep on growing, increase a little bit here and there. But trying to maintain this level is, in this climate, is hard, but nonetheless, we're able to do that.
thank you.
If there are any honor students here, I think you have an idea of what's happening. If you should get funded, then the Honors College will also supplement the project. Um, it's no guarantee how much they will supplement. It depends on their budget every year, but they'll send over some amount to my office at Undergraduate Research, and then we'll handle that distribution equally across all funded Honors College students. So you'll get a little trickle of extra funding on top.
I did have a quick question in regards to the usage of the materials throughout the research, particularly pertaining into how the process of electronic materials would be handled for the university after the research has been completed.
Yeah.
I knew my research I wanted to complete would be within the technology bounds and would be the necessity to ask for funding for electronic materials. And I was curious about how that process is handled by the university, as well as in general materials that are used as well. Like I was reading a couple of the examples, and like some of them for the arts and humanities were like dance supplies or materials for filming. And I was curious about how those kind of materials are handled after the research period.
Okay. So I'm going to speak in generalities.
Absolutely.
So basically, consumables. Consumables are used. So when they're used, they may go away. If there are equipment that is durable, that, in other words, they don't they can be used chronically and for many years, they are to be retained within the department,
Perfect.
simply because state funds dictate that the equipment, durable equipment especially, are owned by the state. And
Perfect.
yes, and the faculty member or the department that oversees that use of the equipment, they are the stewards of state equipment.
Perfect.
Supplies that are durable, that are non-durable, and are consumables, they can go away.
Perfect. So I'm
I'm not
assuming
sure
that.
how to best place that.
No, that is perfect. That's great to know. Because if I were to mix a project with consumables and um, durable materials, then I'm assuming too on the application of the research grant, then that kind of would be more clarified in specifics to
Yeah,
how that would go after the process or throughout the process.
that's right.
Perfect.
Um,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Yes, Jesper.
Dr. Tran, I have two questions that are completely unrelated to each other, so I'll go with them in order of where this conversation is going right now. So, when we're doing the budget information part of our application, would it be helpful to like provide a list of materials or potential materials that we are looking to uh, obtain in our continued research of this project?
Yes,
Or
you can do a by bullet point or some outline of the itemized list of things that you need for your project. You know, if it's pipettes, if it's petri dishes, if it's paint supplies, go ahead and list them. And it also helps to put in parentheses where you're going to get them from. You know, for example, if it's a Hobby Lobby or if it's Fisher Scientific, go ahead and put in parentheses. That will carry a lot of weight for the reviewers, knowing that you did your due diligence in trying to source those materials and where they're coming from.
okay, I'll
Okay.
consult my mentor to see
Yeah.
what sort of materials we would need.
Yes. You know, if it's very complex, then try to abbreviate. You can make it more abbreviated if you can to fit within the character limitations of the budget sheet. Um, but so that's going to be left for you to try to refine in terms of character limitations. But you know, you should put out there the materials that are of the most priority and relevant to the expense.
Hmm. And the second question, so I'm looking at the application information right now, and I've scrolled down to section F, post-award actions,
Hmm.
and uh, first, so it says here that awardees are required to submit a final report due at this respective date. So does the final report work like a thesis where we just present our research and our information in a manner like the thesis? So, what does the final report entail?
The final report is simply an update on your progress. Whether what you've done is complete or not is irrelevant. But certainly, if you're done and have a thesis already in hand, that'd be great. Report that. If you said that, well, what you did was you went to a symposium or the URCA, presented some initial results, that's fine too. So what I'm looking for is some amount of effort that was placed forward in that final report. So it can be preliminary results, it can be a presentation, it could be a talk at some seminar, or it could be a final paper. So any manner there.
All right. And lastly, I just came up with this question. Is there a calendar for any of the research events that ECU will be hosting, uh,
Yeah.
whether this year or the next?
Okay, so some calendar events. One that's not been posted yet, it's going to be in November. It's called Snickers, but that's the abbreviation for the State of North Carolina Undergraduate Research and Creativity Symposium. I actually happen to be on the steering committee for Snickers. It's a statewide event with all 16 UNC schools. It's going to be hosted virtually, by the way. And so here's an opportunity for undergraduates to present their posters or even a talk virtually. That is going to be in November. We don't have a date set yet, but once I have it available, it's going to be disseminated to everybody at ECU. The other thing that we know for sure is going to happen is the Research and Creative Achievement Week. That is March 31st through April 4th. It's a Monday through Friday deal. So I might be wrong on the actual dates, but it's the first week of April. And that's there for undergraduates. That's going to be on Tuesday, the first week of April. That's where you can present your poster or a podium talk.
Okay, and we should see these events available, like, or just promoted in our inbox, whether or not we get accepted for the URCA award scholarship.
Yes,
or
absolutely. So
award.
it's not related to URCA at all. So it's going to be open to everybody and encouraged for everybody to try to attend and present your work. Okay, so it's non-URCA related, by the way.
Okay.
And by the way, I have one more. If you are working in the summertime on a research project with your mentor, we also offer the Summer Undergraduate Research Symposium. So in July, to help put some closure to your summer, hopefully it was very productive and fruitful, but also enjoyable. We also offer that day for all students over the summertime to present your work as well. So many opportunities to include in that final report. And these are local. They're not outside ECU. You certainly can go to outside of ECU types of events, whether it be at Chapel Hill or Appalachian State or any other place. You can include that in your final report. That's legitimately a scholarship type of event that you attended. All right, very good. These are great questions and driving good discussions. I'm just trying to see from the FAQs here if I can pick out something that is glaringly a problem, and I don't see many other than some of the points that we addressed already. Budgets wise, don't worry about accounting for every penny to the T. Don't get boggled down with exact numbers per se. You certainly can feel free to round up those numbers. And by the way, that makes it a lot easier for us to read through. And because in the very end, it's going to be your administrator that helps you with all the purchases, and they'll do the accounting for us. Any other questions or concerns, comments? When you submit your application, and this is something I implemented last year, I implemented some rules to somewhat reject an application just basically only on the basis of character limitations. So when you submit and you're exceeding some character limit, it's going to also quickly reject you and let you know you exceeded your character limitations. So that way there's no guessing game and not make you worry that, hey, we receive your application and is it good? Well, you'll know ahead of time whether or not those limitations have not been exceeded. And then after you've met the criteria for those character limits, you can then the system will then push it to your mentor for review. So your mentor does not see anything until your application has been fully met the criteria for character limitations. So that's something we implemented last year to help students get through the process a little less painfully. Okay. If there's nothing else, this was great. Love the conversation. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any other concerns or questions. I'll be happy to address them for you. With that said, thank you for coming and good luck and best of success to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Strand. Have a nice day.
Have a great day. Thank you, everybody.
I did have a quick final question.
Oh, yes. I'll stay on. Go ahead.
Appreciate it. I apologize for that.
Yes.
I wanted to ask for the applying to the spring semester for the research awards. When is a great time for me to really start formulating that application and getting those materials ready? Basically, kind of reminding myself as we get closer to the January deadline.
Yeah. I mean, I think you probably had an idea, but we're talking about, I would say, at least 12 weeks.
Perfect.
But really, you can certainly pull together and put together a project in a shorter time frame. I think it's coordinating with your mentor, having that exchange, and making sure you cross the T's and dot the I's well ahead of the date. Cramming through, obviously, it's one of those things where you might feel too pinched, and then you lose a word, you lose a little phrase here and there that might cost you. And so it's good to make sure that the review of that document is pretty thorough with another reader, such as your mentor or somebody else who can catch some things that you might not have. Okay. So yeah, I mean, just give yourself some time, weeks ahead of time before the deadline, and you should have a more beefy application at that point.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your dedication, and I appreciate y'all's mentorship.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
You take care.
You take care as well, Garrett. Max, may I have another question?
For sure. No, I said thank you so much. I
Thank
really
you so much.
appreciate it.
Okay, very good, Maxim. See you later. Bye.